This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day, carefully crafted for you by humans. So meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the First 100 podcast. This is the podcast where we're going to be exploring the journey of entrepreneurs, business owners, agency leaders, and so many more people as they share with us the strategies, the challenges, and the triumphs that have led them to secure those first 100 customers. I'm very excited because today we have a very special guest, Marvin Drobes. Hi, Marvin. How are you?
I'm doing great, Daniela. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much for being here. So, for anybody who doesn't know about you, who you are, what you do, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, all of these things?
Great. Let me start off and say I'm a young 74-year-old who's in business because I love doing what I do. My history is pretty unique. I've been in several different businesses. To begin with, I came out of college and taught special ed children for 7 years. I went into photography, which was a hobby, and I built a studio, and then I bought a camera store, and I had a lab processing lab for film, before we had digital stuff. And From there, I did that for several years, built my organization to 7 photographers. Um, we were doing about 55, 60 formal, like weddings and anniversary parties and stuff. And of course, portraits. And then uh, a bug bit me, and I decided to enter the financial service industry, where I became a stockbroker. And in a year and a half, I was promoted to a manager. And a year after that, I got my own office from the company and ran a group of 11 people out of my office and did that for a number of years. After that, I got involved in network marketing, and I built an organization to where my fiance at the time and myself were earning a little under $120,000 a year. Um, a very exciting time, but things changed. And I had an old friend of mine who said, "Listen, you'd be the perfect guy. Why don't you come into the car business?" And I said, "Like, and do what?" He says, "Be a salesman. You can make a lot of money." I said, "I'm making a lot of money." He says, "No, no, you don't understand. I'm looking for someone to start the internet business for us." This was in 1998. Okay. And I said, "How are we going to do that?" And long story short, he said, "Well, why don't you show us how to do it?" And I said, "Well, I'll give it a try. What are we talking about money wise?" He made me an offer, as they say, from the Godfather. I couldn't resist. And I went into that business. And through 2008, I worked for Toyota and General Motors. And then I ended up at a Chevrolet dealer, one of the largest here in New Jersey, of which I built the car sales from when we started their internet department. We were doing about 16, 17 cars a month, and we built it to 73 cars a month in 6 months. It was a very exciting time, and everything was great. And then my son, God bless him, came to me one day and he said, "I'm starting a business. I'm leaving nursing, and I'm, going back to school, and I'm going to be a website developer." And I go, "Okay, fantastic." And that's what he did. And then 2 years later, I got laid off. Okay. We hit the General Motors, basically, were in bankruptcy. Car sales dropped from 160 cars a month to 50 something cars. The management and ownership of the dealership said, "We can't have this. They blamed it on us and the internet that we weren't driving enough appointments and sales. And he said, why should I be paying you X amount of dollars, when we're not getting the business? So we're going to just close the department. And I said, okay. So I went home thinking, okay, what's my next step? And my son happened to be at the house and he says to me, why are you home so early? And I said, "Yeah, well, I've kind of had a, misunderstanding at work and now I'm unemployed." It was great. Well, go ahead and you can be my sales manager for my business. And I said, oh, really? Okay. And what do you want me to do? What I didn't know was he needed $16,800 to fund the business. So Daddy became a bank too. And I got into the business and we started doing websites and design. I had a friend who was a dentist, and and that was the first piece of business I brought in. He had already had some business, and about 2011, the bug bit me to do social media. I saw it up in Facebook, Twitter, you know, and I went to friends who owned a party store, like balloons and all of that good stuff to make it a party at home. And I convinced them to give it a try, and we were very successful with what we did for them. And of course, I would go there and hang out there and see what was going on. And I was there for selfish reasons because, they dealt with a lot of contractors and stuff. And I'd pitch to contractors why they needed a website or why they needed social media. And that led to the growth of the business. And right before COVID came, my son got offered a job in New York City working for a firm specializing in medical doctors, dentists, hospitals, websites. Now, what I was paying him out of the deal and partnership, they almost doubled as his initial salary. And he came to me and said, Dad, I don't know what to do. I said, what do you mean you don't know? Take the job? Take the job. I mean, you'll be around to help me, right? And he says, oh, yeah, no, I'll help you. When I come home at night, and on the weekends, I'll help you. Well, that was short-lived because here in New Jersey to get to New York, you take a bus, and it's a 2.5 hour there, 2.5, 3 hours sometimes to come home. And he had a wife, 2 kids, and you know what? I give him credit. He decided to be a father and not, help dad out. So he said, I'll help you on the weekend. Well, on the weekend, he had to mow the lawn. He had to go shopping. So I said, then what do I do? And he says, well, why don't you outsource? And I go, what is outsourcing? I had no clue. He says, well, you hire people outside. I said, okay, well, can you at least help me? And that's how we really built the agency. Today, I have almost 40 employees worldwide, and it's been a great trip. And of course, we don't talk business when we get together.
Wow, I mean, that's such a long and, like, complicated I don't know, well, not maybe that's not the word, but just, like, such a great journey that you have been through, you've gotten through so many ups and downs, and now you've sort of found a stability with what you have, right?
Yes.
That's incredible, yeah, I mean, I've talked to a lot of, business owners who especially within the agency world, that really struggle with that because it's, I think also it's the type of industry that is changing all the time, which influences how people manage their own businesses. So the fact that you have been able to stay with those changes throughout all this time is incredible. Yeah.
We definitely learned how to navigate the waters. There's no doubt about it. I'm proud, and my son's doing very well. The reason we don't talk about it is because nothing about the medical niches because he put me in touch with another company that does them, but at reasonable rates for like a guy who just started the dental office or a chiropractor, and I can charge the prices I charge and earn the business. I'm not in competition with what he does.
That's interesting. And actually I had my first question was about, how you started your business, but you've obviously already answered that. And I'm really curious about talking to you about your focus specifically on social media and digital marketing and all of this. as someone who is obviously not from the generation born with the internet, you very much lived through the surge of it and then the explosion into marketing. How has that journey been for you to navigate those waters and, to actually have that as such a huge focus of your business?
Yeah, if you're familiar with the terms, if not, I'll explain them real quickly. We talk about things that are called blue oceans and red oceans. And a blue ocean just is indicative of a wide open fishing place. Like, not a lot of people are out there. There's a lot of opportunity. And then you go to the red ocean where it's swarming with the fish are, being taken up in nets rather than on a fishing line. And there's so many people doing it. And we felt that way when we started. Social media was relatively new. Um, Facebook was coming onto the scene, Twitter, now X, um, things like Google My Business was out there. People had no clue what it was or what it could do for a business. LinkedIn was coming onto the scene for professionals, more like business to business rather than business to consumer. Or Facebook, everybody forgets Facebook was made to be uh, a friend to friend platform. It was not built
Yeah.
originally for businesses, but of course, businesses saw a way to, tell the friends and neighbors, like I was in network marketing for a long time. And back in those days, who did you go to? You went to your friends, your neighbors, your family, and you try to sell them product and bring them into your business. The internet was no different. Businesses found a way to not sell, but communicate what they were doing by being on platforms like Facebook and Twitter. So it happened. So up through COVID, and then through COVID, I think the social media aspect drove a lot of people into doing social media. Why? It's probably the easiest niche part of digital marketing. Everybody has, well, not everybody, but almost everybody who's married or divorced. They they have a son or daughter who came out of college, could not find work, and daddy and mommy are running the business, and all of a sudden they're talking about, "What is this Facebook? What is this Twitter thing? Well, can it help my business?" And the kid says, "Well, look, while I'm not working and looking for a job, I could do that for you." So they jumped into and made the ocean red. Okay. The things is, they know how to do it because they were doing it in college or in high school. And basically, there's things about social media that they didn't know. They don't know how to do analytics. They don't know how to find out the best time to post, what to post. They just would do general stuff. And all of a sudden, what we call social media started to become sales media. And it was never designed for that. It was
Oh,
designed for
yeah.
social. And
So
unless
most
you
social media
weave,
were like for fun, right?
unless you weave and we have a rule of thumb, every 5 posts, one of them will be promotional. The rest of them are for engagement reasons. So social media, and then COVID ended. We're moving into the, 2025, and more businesses are looking for, quote, social media experts. They need help. They had the kids or their wife or their aunt, uncle, mother, father were doing the work for them. They're not getting anything out of it. And now they're turning back to the professionals to look at it, see when the best time to post is, give them the statistics they need to analyze it correctly and make changes, and then give them the ideas. And then, of course, today, AI is making it easier and easier with relative posting. So we move forward. Again, it's kind of like I say, the ocean is turning blue again, but the waves are getting bigger and bigger, moving in and out along the coast, giving opportunity to social media platforms for businesses.
Yeah. No, definitely. And actually, this all leads me to my next question, which is about how you think social media pairs with more traditional marketing avenues. Um, I think we've sort of seen this tonal shift on businesses who used to be skeptical of digital and then they decided that they wanted to go all in on digital. Um, how do you think that has affected or changed more traditional marketing efforts like billboards and TV ads and, what people used to see as marketing for businesses prior to the social media and digital surge?
Yeah, that's Daniela, that's so important to understand. And people who are looking at digital marketing for the first time or not sure if it'll work for their business, they have to remember that traditional marketing, as you were indicating, it was print, newspapers, it was radio, and if a company could afford it, TV advertising, okay, which left out the small and medium-sized business because advertising TV is so expensive. Today, we replaced that with Google and Facebook ads, w the social media platforms to communicate the issues. Uh, Businesses still do print ads, but we now more of them doing like a postcard option, which could be a mailer, which they did years ago, but they can also do it online as well as like coupon mailings, like Valpak and those type companies, Money Mail. But the difference is those were the days when the ecosystem of traditional marketing was a buckshot approach. You tried everything. You sent out coupons in Valpak. You took a radio spot, to promote your thing, and you put up a billboard. Now, billboards have always been an interest to me because we sell something called digital billboards. So, very interesting. The concept is the same, but you become I guess image blind is the term I would use. You drive the same highway every morning to go to work 5 days a week, and you see this billboard. At first, maybe you recognize, "Oh, that's interesting," but a little by little, you become blind to that ad. And unless you're looking for that type business or service or product, you aren't going to take note of it, and certainly you're not gonna stop, pull aside the road, and write down, "Let me see, their web address is," "What's the telephone number?" You're not gonna do that. But what are you gonna do? You're gonna get home, you do a Google search, go to Google. What do we say now? Google it, right? And you're gonna look up the company, and when you see the one that you saw on the billboard, you're going to make you call, okay? So
Instagram too, I think. I've started to like look for companies a lot on Instagram.
Okay, so what we're noticing is that more and more people are turning to the internet because it's fast and easy. Now, with the onset of, our cellular phones, I mean, everybody now, the majority of people do searches using a mobile phone. Okay. You can't you can't put a paper ad into the phone and pull it out. Just as know? So people realize now that being in the digital marketing space is a necessity. It's no longer a, well, let me think about it. Because if you're not online, and I'll go deeper in that, if you don't have a website today to tell people about yourself, you're not in business anymore. The brick and mortar companies that do not get involved are going to fade away. I would say within the next maybe 8 to 10 years, they'll they won't have a business.
It's true. I think like nowadays having a website is probably the first things that an entrepreneur needs to do to start sort of seeing results. Having social media, at least one, like whether it's Facebook or, having some kind of SEO strategy, it's probably one of the first things that people have to start doing when it comes to their marketing efforts, right?
Yeah, I think people mistake this, that in the old days, and I was around back, um, people, the old saying, it was one-on-one marketing. If I went and I bought a pair of shoes and I wore them out and I get to my job, for example, and one of my coworkers, look and say, "Hey, Marvin, wow, nice pair of shoes. Where'd you get them?" Got them at Atomic. Boy, I'm really on that. I got them at Florsheim. Those businesses have closed because they didn't keep up with trends. Okay. Um, and they say, "Oh, great. When I go to the mall, I'm going to have to go look. I really like them." It was one on one. Because of the internet, we have an opportunity to do one too many. And it's not a hit or miss like a newspaper ad or a billboard. You could target, you can get deep down and find the exact people who are currently looking for your service or your product.
Yeah, I think that's like a huge game changer is that you can put the ad in front of the right people.
Yes.
Whereas like a billboard or a newspaper ad or like a flyer, you kind of just give it out and then hope for the best with whoever it is that's
I
receiving,
agree. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about what you think the future of digital marketing is going to look like. I mean, I feel like with digital marketing, content marketing, we see changes happening like so fast. AI has come, like you said, to hugely impact and revolutionize the industry. COVID really had an effect on it. I think post pandemic, we have seen permanent changes happening. So, what do you think is going to happen within the next 5 to 10 years with digital marketing and, just marketing in general?
Well, let me start by saying it's my opinion that every business must make the move in the 21st century in order to survive today's economic ecosystem. There are just a few major advantages I could talk about to be in the online marketing space. I mean, back in the day, as I said, advertising and marketing was more or less a buckshot approach. They would cast a large net using, print ads, newspaper ads, the mailer, newsletter type, throw on the lawn if you had a house. That's what we used to call it. Throw it on the driveway. You know, magazine. Today it's definitely changed. Okay, but they would cast a large net in hopes that they would find people who would be good for their service and product. Today, working online, you can be very specific in who they want to reach, as you just said. And what that has done in the economics of marketing and advertising, it's reduced the cost of acquisition. And when it's done correctly, makes for a long-term relationship between a company and their customers, as long as they do it right. Okay. Keeping that thought in mind, I believe that every business must add digital marketing to their marketing arsenal or they're going to die.
Yeah, definitely. It's like we said, a must. And I also wanted to know from you with all of this knowledge that you have acquired. I mean, I'm assuming you had so many experiences. Can you tell us a little bit about a campaign that, sticks out for you or that you think you're particularly proud of that you've helped? How have you helped that business? Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Oh, absolutely. Um, I got to go back. The most recent, what we call wins in our business, is I have a gentleman who is my age. Um, he is in South Carolina and he has a very unique situation. He was born blind. In fact, his story is he was the first American born blind child to go to public school in the United States. And of all things, when he went to college for 2 years and he dropped out and chose a path that everybody said to him, that's never going to happen. You're going to starve to death. You're never going to be anything, you know? And what was that path? He chose to be a tradesperson. He started out as a roofer. Now, just think of a blind guy going up a ladder and climbing on your roof, 2 stories, 3 stories high, to fix your roof. Okay.
How would he even do that? Like, I would feel really confused.
Well, not only that, but today he holds, I want to call them degrees. They're not degrees, but they're certificates. And he jokes about this one. He has them in electrical, uh, you know, certification. He jokes about it. He says, the only thing about being blind and doing electrical work is that your assistant better not be colorblind because you don't want them to hand you, the red and green wires, for you to fix. And I think that's hilarious, but he's done very well. The trades have been absolutely fantastic for him. Several years back, when he did get married at an older age, after this few years in of his marriage, his wife was in a car accident, and she was a nurse. It led to her being in a wheelchair. Okay. So their circumstances are quite unique. Okay. And he wanted to do something special. He's been fortunate. He's made a great living from the trades, and he came to me with 4 incentives that he wanted to do, basically. And he wanted to know if we could build a website for him. He's been down on the past since he can't see the website. He has a team of people that have worked with him. Some of them for 33 years have been with him, and he's very good natured, and he wanted to get back to the trades. And I suggested, why don't we build an online directory specific for the tradespeople in the state of South Carolina? He said, explain it to me. Well, directory. Most people are familiar with what is it, Angie's List. And the only difference was he provided the tradespeople with free ads if they were and took care of, I think there's 36 now niches, from home remodeling to electricians and plumbers and roofers. Uh, and he had me research companies. And I think the directory has close to 4,000 people that he's provided these free ads to draw. And then he's paying Google and Facebook advertising money that he's paying to go ahead and drive traffic to that website. Okay. So that these people benefit from what's going on in their state, stay local. And as I was building that, he came to me and to my team and he said, listen, this is great, but I think you guys are confused. Okay, what are we doing wrong? Well, I know what we're doing right. He says, listen, my company, and he's recognized in the United States, and someone gave him the title many years ago, as America's Blind Tradesman. And that became his brand. Okay. Now the products he did was originally he had a radio show on the radio called I Love My Tools, where he would discuss, tools, and he would demonstrate. There's another thing. I was with him and I watched him saw a piece of wood 1/100th of an inch on a table saw. I can't get an inch straight. We got a 100th of an inch off this beam. Amazing. Okay, and
Couldn't do that, and I have 2 working eyes, which
right, exactly. So he's earned the America's Blind Tradesman. Definitely is a great title for him. But that was his brand. It wasn't what he was promoting. He was promoting the radio show to help new people in the trades or people that have been around a long time. And what we weren't covering that, you know. So what we did was we set up he calls them initiatives, and we set up an initiative and we drove people to his recorded previous spots that he had done, on radio. He had them recorded and had me put them on the website. And that's how he's telling his story. And it led to us starting February, we created a podcast like what we're doing for him so he can continue to tell his story. Now, what's interesting there, he gets corporate sponsors
Oh
that
yeah.
pay him to be on a show. For example, on the radio show, at one time, Ford gave a $5,000, I'm going to call it a stipend, for anybody that came off the show with the code that Michael had, off whatever the best price they could get for a vehicle. They had another $5,000 above and beyond that. Okay. You, no way you could buy a car or truck for that with that discount unless you heard it on the show. Okay. Uh,
Yeah, so it makes him like hot commodity basically.
and as he explained to me, this was just one of the incentives is to drive the traffic there and to get sponsors. And he's not looking to take money out to live on, but he does realize as he and his wife are aging, as he put it, he needs more people to be his wife's legs and he needs more people to be his eyes. And
Exactly.
yeah, okay. So his goal is to drive that gets sponsored. And then he realized we have a problem in the United States. You can look this up, do a search in Google. We we have more doctors than we need, though that soon will be a shortage again. We have a big, big shortage of tradespeople. So his thing is let's, you know, the tradespeople were responsible for the growth in America. And let's, build America on the backbone of the tradespeople again. Okay. So he created another incentive called the Million Job Movement. And his goal is to put 1 million tradespeople into the world of the United States to build America again. And what's interesting about that part of it, which at least I do find it interesting, is I was thinking, oh, he's going to do how are you going to fund this project? And he said, that's why the podcast and radio show from the corporate sponsors. I am going to go ahead and provide money to trade schools as scholarships. I am going to put money into the advertising to drive more traffic to our website that we created, which is homeserviceprofiler.com. And then we can just keeping the money in the economy and in the local cities. And if I have my way, I will have you build another directory for every state in the union, making
That's amazing. Yeah, what a great story. I mean, and it's such a, I think, unexpected success story because you wouldn't normally put so much faith in a person that you think won't be able to achieve so much, right? So that just goes to show that it's not about your limitations, it's about how creative you are.
exactly. I mean, and he talks about that in his podcast that he'll be talking about that. We did a podcast with Mike. He talked about he has another initiative it's called Anyone Can Win, and it's not specific to people who have handicaps. It's people who are not happy with what they're doing in life and think of themselves as being I guess what's the words I would want to say, you know, non-privileged, like, oh, only the rich people have this. No, you can have anything you want if you believe in yourself. And that's what his message is. And he does a great job. He's been on the national circuit speaking to people. I mean, be another great person for you to speak to and bring on the show. Um, he's just he's just amazing. That's all I can say about
Amazing, yeah. Marvin, thank you so much for such a great conversation. I think you have so much experience and you talk to so many people. I think that's so invaluable. I think wisdom is something that only comes from experience. When we're young, we only know so much. So it's very great to talk to you. Before I let you go, I do have a little game prepared for you. Um, I have some really fun questions about you. Essentially, we would do a rapid fire. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put a 1-minute timer. There's 20 questions. We'll see how many we can get through. With my previous guest, we went through 9 because he got stumped with 1.
Okay.
So let's see how we do with you. And essentially, they're not marketing. These are just fun questions. So
I-
let me put a timer and just tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Okay.
I'll do my best.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Favorite social media platform?
Google.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Don't have one.
Books or podcasts?
Both.
One word that describes you.
Intuitive.
Dream vacation destination.
Um, I would say an island out in the Pacific somewhere. Food-
Most used app on your phone.
Most used app is my Facebook DM.
Favorite emoji.
Oh, the smiley with the wink.
Hidden talent.
Hidden talent, a lost musician.
Go-to comfort food. Oh,
Oh my God, pizza.
pizza. Yeah, for me too. I love pizza. We got through 10 questions. Not bad. You did one more than our other guest.
Oh, I win.
You
You just get an address for the check.
actually it most people get really stuck when I ask them about their karaoke song, and you were really good. You were just like, no, no karaoke song.
Well, the problem with that is that I listen to a lot of jazz. I love music, but I like instrumental music. Same thing with my blues. I've been trying to play guitar for 40 years. I've taken lessons where the guitar teacher told me, you know what? Don't spend any more money. Just go home and play to your heart's content because you're not.
Oh my gosh, no, but I mean, you're doing great though with digital marketing. So,
Yeah.
life put you where you were meant to be,
Yes.
obviously. But it was so great having you. Good job with the questions. I think you did really great. You did better than our previous guest. So yeah, you win.
Oh,
Thank you so much for doing this, Marvin. Before I end the show, the episode, I do want to give you the space to plug whatever you want to plug. This is the moment to tell our listeners, our viewers, where they can go and find you if anybody's interested in working with you, listening to your podcast, shows, anything. Floor is yours.
okay. I appreciate that. But before I do that, there is some advice I'd like to share with your listening audience, and that is if you choose to come into digital marketing, unfortunately, there's too many of my peers, quote, the experts, the gurus, that are promoting the digital marketing space as a side hustle. Okay. It is not a side hustle. In fact, they go as far as saying earn $10,000 per month and they make it sound like you could do it in just a few hours a week. It isn't going to happen, folks. It just won't. Okay. So, if you want to get involved in this business, you can do it part time. Don't expect to make tons of money immediately. There's no immediate gratification. And my suggestion is master one thing, whether it's social media, and even in social media, because it's so wide open. Choose the platform that you want to master, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Google, LinkedIn. Master that first. Learn all the ins and outs of that business. Don't be a jack of all trades and master of none. Okay. As far as where people can reach me or find me, they can go to our website, which is earningcoachmarketing.com. There you'll see my basically my 5 platforms that I pitch, if I could use that word, my sales pitch. It is, SEO, search engine optimization, using Google Business Profile. We talk about building websites, designing them, building them, and implementing them. We talk about social media. We talk about marketing using text, email, and newsletters online. And last but not least, we create chat bots, both the text type, and now we've moved into the voice chat bot, where you can actually have a voice make outbound or inbound calls. Have a restaurant doing it right now who is, having it take their orders with a chat bot. It's like talking to a human being. Okay. As far as my podcasts, they cover what's currently happening. It's called Online Digital Marketing Today. You'll find it at Spotify. You'll find it on Apple Podcasts and several other platforms. If you really want to know what's going on, join us there. Right now, I have my digital marketing team, podcast team, which you may be surprised to find out they too, after you listen to the podcast, they too happen to be AI people. They're not real. I give them more information than they do the podcast. So, very,
Very cool.
yeah. So again, it's called Online Digital Marketing Today. You find me there. And if you want to contact me directly, you can two ways. Obviously, you can call me. I'm happy to give you my office telephone number. It's 732-523-2600. I'm usually in from 8:30 in the morning till 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening. Actually, that's a lie because after I leave, you get forwarded to my cell phone anyway. Just be respectful. I live in the Eastern Standard Time. If you're going to call and, call up to 9 o'clock, but do not try to reach me after that. I get kind of ticked off. But yeah. And then my email address is D like in David, RO, B like in baby, ES at EarningCoachMarketing.com.
Awesome. Yeah, I will be adding those links and information to the description of this video so that people can also be directed to it for those watching and for the listeners. Go to the video.
What?
So that anybody can go ahead and find you. And Marvin, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, Daniela. And if you ever want to get a hold of Mike for, for a podcast with him, just let me know. I'll be happy to supply his information. I'm sure he'll look forward to doing something with you.
Yeah, for sure. We can talk about this after the show. And everybody, I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest. And to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.